as long as you keep your client's best interests in mind at all times, no matter what, no matter what is going on in a deal, you can never lose.
What's up, everybody? Mason McDonald and Dan Haberkost here with another great episode of the Big Picture Blueprint. Today's conversation was a ton of fun, but before we get into that, Dan, how are you doing?
I'm good. Things are picking up as we head into spring. Lots of buying and selling, building. So having fun with business right now.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that our guest today, you've gotten to hang out and get to know pretty well in person out in sunny San Diego, but why don't you tell us about Trent?
Yeah. So today we have Trent Cady. So he and his dad, Mike Cady, sell Del Mar property. That is their niche. Now they'll sell properties all over San Diego, but Del Mar is really the focus. And so we talk a lot about what it's like selling luxury properties in a crazy market like Del Mar. They manage 45 properties and also advise on the rehab construction and renovations for their sellers. And Trent has a background in mortgages. He was a loan originator before he was a realtor himself. So this is a great conversation where we really dive into what it takes to get high-end clients and sell, $5, $6, $7, $8 million houses. So let's bring him in. Trent Cady, welcome to the show. How's it going?
What's happening, guys? I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah, this will be a fun conversation. I think we really have conversations like this over lunch all the time, but we're just recording it.
Yeah.
So we got to start with a fun question. You're doing business in what I think is the most expensive county in the country, and you're doing business in one of the most expensive parts of that county. So I would ask, what is the most you've ever seen a house get bid over ask?
Most I've ever seen a house get bid over ask. We had one, it was only 6 months ago, actually. They listed it. It was probably worth about $4 million, and they listed it at $2,995,000, and this was in Del Mar. And it ended up selling for 5.5. That was $2.5 million over the asking price. That was, off the top of my head, one of the highest that I've ever seen go over.
Wow. Well, maybe listing low is the way to go. I might have to. I don't know about that much under list, but that's really interesting, and that's crazy. It basically almost doubled.
It was nuts. I mean, and there was 16 offers, and I think every single one of them was cash. I mean, the competition levels, it's like, it's honestly hard to like wrap your head around. You're just like, this many people. I don't know. It's a little bubble, it feels like at times.
Yeah. Yes, this is definitely a little bubble. Different standard here for sure. But let's back up. I know you haven't been on a ton of podcasts, so a lot of our audience might not have heard of you. Give a quick background of where you started, how you got where you are today, and what you're currently working on.
Definitely. Yeah. So my name's Trent Cady. I grew up here locally in San Diego, went to Torrey Pines High School, and then went to the University of Colorado Boulder for college. Did marketing and real estate there. Got out, got my mortgage license, did loans from 2016 to 2019. Realized it wasn't a good long-term fit for me, but it was really a great place to start my career because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, as you guys know, on the financing side, that I think a lot of people on the sales front don't really understand at times. So coming into the industry as a buyer's agent, it really gave me great leverage and helped me get clients that didn't think they were going to qualified, and get creative with loan products, things like that. After that, my father has ran a team here in Del Mar for a long time, and originally didn't want to work with him, but decided to go over, give it a shot. And in the first little bit there, I got lucky with a buddy looking to buy something and kind of got hooked from there. So from 2019 to now, yeah, we focus on North County, San Diego, high-end sales. I mean, I'll do a deal at any price point, and that's kind of one of the things we love to pride ourselves on. Is, I just sold a condo for $330,000, and took me 4 months to help the guy renovate it. We staged it, we professionally marketed it, and we sold it at the same level we would a $10 million house here. So yeah, it's been a really great run. My middle brother is now joining our team. We're super boutique, very boots on the ground. Like, you hire us, you get us. We're the ones at the showings, at the open houses. We're not pawning you off to anybody else. That's kind of our pitch here, is we don't have a mega team. We're not carrying 50 listings, but the ones we take on, we take very, very seriously.
That's great. And I want to, there's a lot in there that I want to dive into, but the working with your family dynamic, I feel like
Mhm.
personal brand is a huge part of any business, or developing a brand is a huge part of any business. What's been a positive about working with your father and now brother, and how that has contributed to, like, the family business brand? And what
Yep.
potentially has been a negative about that, if there are any?
Totally. No, it's a great question because there are, right? It's like there's a bunch of positives when working with family. Like I'll start there, right? It's like I feel very lucky and blessed that I get to work with my dad and he's cool. Like it's not like he's he's the type of guy where it's like, look, if you want to work out or work, go make money and do your thing, like get out there and go do it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what to do. I'll show you kind of the path, but you can do whatever you want type thing. So that's fun. And then you always have somebody that you can really rely on. Like if I have a client and I can't make it to a showing or whatever, and I need help, it's really nice to be able to rely on somebody that you trust and is not like in any way trying to like snake you and they're going to represent you to the best of their ability. And he knows that vice versa with me. And then, just being honest though, too, when you talk about branding, eh, the older people in real estate love for everything to be their name, right? And so that has been a little bit of a point of contention where it's like, I want to build my own brand and my own sphere, I guess you could say, because I have to do my own deals to make money. And we help each other on each person's deals, but he wants everything under him. And then us, we're underneath that. And we've kind of had to, over the years, I've kind of earned my spot to be now like next to him, I guess you could say. Um, but yeah, putting the deals under his name all the time has been a point of contention a little bit. So that's a little challenging. But my personal perspective on it right now is like, put your ego aside. Let's build his name, his brand. I'm a part of that. And, in 5 to 10 years, whenever that is, the transition takes place. My name and face will be on everything, but my personal numbers won't be reflected accurately, I would say.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and it is the pro and con of, shoving your ego to the side, knowing that you're adding a lot of value and contributing, but you're still the new kid on the block. And
Mm-hmm.
I think in the UK, like, all businesses that are family businesses would be called Cady and Sons.
Yeah.
And then, that way it's not just individually tied. And that's something that I see with a lot of large brokerages. But how has you coming into the business, being, the young guy, uh, pretty active on social media, increased the breadth of your clientele? Of, are you appealing to certain listing types or a certain demographic or seller or buyer avatar, and your dad taking on different clients? Or is it kind of just a mix of whoever brings in the lead manages it? Or how does that kind of function?
Yeah, so social media has been a game changer. When I joined him in 2019, he'd been doing it already for like 30 years or so and very old school, like just how all the OG brokers in the space are, right? Pen and paper, handshake, um, no website, no social media, no email marketing campaigns, no Google ads, nothing uh, to try and drive new business, but that wasn't the goal, right? It was just maintain his current clientele and he was happy doing his thing. And then when I came on, I obviously wanted to do more business, grow the brand. And so that led to us doing social media, us, really dialing in our CRM, our website, all those things, which has attracted a whole new clientele basis and allowed us to leverage his past sales, his name within the area to do more deals in our area, which is really Del Mar, Carmel Valley, Solana Beach. For those that aren't familiar, it's like North County, San Diego, imagine it from La Jolla to Encinitas if you're looking on a map. And then I've really attracted growing up here and having a lot of friends and family that know what we do, and now being able to leverage social media, friends moving here, friends, seeing what I'm doing, how we're helping first time home buyers, what payments look like, and what realistic scenarios are for buying their first home here in San Diego. Because I think a lot of times we're having to have difficult conversations. Like people think they qualify for a lot more than they do, or maybe the bank will give them the money they need to do the deal that they're thinking about, but the payment's going to be out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. No, that all makes sense. It's amazing the personal brand you've already managed to build. It seems like you know everybody here. If I need a referral for anything, I definitely think of you. But let's talk more about the day to day and how to manage your time and kind of your lead metrics, right? With your sort of business. I mean, sometimes you might meet a lead but not get anything from it for 6, 9 months. It could be 2, 3 years even,
Yeah.
right? It could be longer. And so, how do you think about managing your time, your day, and your lead measures and distinguishing between things that are maybe frivolous and things that are productive? And just to be clear what I mean, like you going golfing with a few high-end business owners could be work, right? Because those could be your clients, but if you do too much of that, you might not get you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Totally. And I definitely, it's a great question because it's a balancing act at all times, right? Uh, I try and build my business though, and I feel like I really have built my business around the things that I love to do. So I don't really feel like I need to. I like to golf, if I can golf once or twice a month and have it be productive with, just like you're saying, with a prospect, a client, a referral partner. That's huge, right? Like I love to take clients out, have a fun Friday afternoon, play some golf. But my business has been built around the things that I already like to do. Like I spend Dan, I took you over to the Bay Club, which is a really high end gym here in San Diego that I spent, 10 years working hard at because one, I love to go to the gym, and two, I love to do all the things that they offer there, right? They have pickleball, they have basketball. So like I immerse myself in the leagues. I make sure to like make it a point to like talk to the people when I'm at the gym, and like it is annoying at times, right? Because you're in the flow and all of a sudden you get out, and but when somebody notices you and they're like, "Hey, I saw you're listing down the street and my friend's moving here," and it sparks that conversation of real estate. That's really like how I've built my business and how I built it around things that I like to do. And so to your question of how do you like structure your day and decide who's most, where your time's best spent, I'm going to the gym in the morning anyway, right? So I go to the gym, I work out, sit in the steam room or sauna, try and spark up a conversation. And that to me, like I've always had this mindset of like a lead before 8 a.m. And it doesn't have to be like per se a lead, right? Like where you're getting someone's name and number, but you're having a conversation hopefully about real estate or like about what you do or about what they do. And you meet someone new, you get a new connection. So that's kind of where I like to start my day. And then I go into obviously our CRM, start following up with the hottest prospects. This is like my biggest inside tip if there's any brokers watching and they use Follow Up Boss. I've implemented a system called Kee, and it's transformed our business. I mean, for a flat fee, I think of $1,000 one time. They have preset automated email campaign templates, and I I'm trying to really dial in our CRM to make sure people are in the right stages at the right time so they're getting the right emails. And Key was really key for us because it helped those campaigns were already made. So if you get a lead and they're a warm lead or a cold lead, right? They're on different drip campaigns and systems and follow-ups than a guy who's buying in, 3 weeks that you're actively showing property to. So having those people bucketed differently and then tagged differently within my CRM, really like that's the first place I start my day. And then I'll say, okay, yeah, I remember John, he needs to see something. He said follow up with him when he's back from Hawaii. And boom, he's back from Hawaii. I get the notification and then I start working on that lead. So that's kind of how I formulate my day and lead system, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with when they have total freedom to spend their day how they want. I think it's easy sometimes to rationalize doing things that aren't actually going to make you money that feel productive. Like I had this problem around education when I first started. I read so many books before actually taking action, far more than I needed, and it was my way of procrastinating. So I think that's useful to hear how you think about it. Now,
I couldn't agree more.
yeah, yeah. So you mentioned social media and you mentioned just word of mouth, networking. Are you all doing direct to seller marketing or any other types of marketing?
Yep. Yeah. So we really have a bunch of different avenues right now rolling of how our demographic, I guess you could say, target market of Del Mar, Carmel Valley, Solana Beach are probably our core markets. The demographic is older, right? So they're not on social media as much. It's a little harder to reach them. I mean, you have to physically, that's why we do a ton of open houses when we have listings in these markets, because it doesn't always like sell the house, but for us, it allows us to meet all the neighbors, for people to see our signs and know that we're active in the community. And we do a ton of print mail. So we have a magazine that goes out every other month, about 28 pages with anywhere from 5 to 10 sponsors. We talk about everything local happening in the area, all of our listings for sale, for lease, how we're helping clients, some local stories. So we got the magazine. We do a ton of open houses. Social media is definitely another route and avenue. I've gotten really deep into the weeds on Google Business and trying to get better at Google Ads and Facebook ads, and just organic SEO in general. I'm trying to be that guy when you're Googling Del Mar real estate, San Diego real estate, for both myself and my father. So I think I know, back to the brand thing, it's like I'm trying to help both of our names rise to the top in that section. But yeah, we're doing magazines, bunch of print mail, just sold, just listed, and trying to make it a little more creative than just, we just sold your house. We try and tell a little story, make it a little more engaging, give them a QR code to engage with us if they want to. And yeah, just try and provide some value through them.
So that's a handful of different channels. And, having a CRM, sometimes it's easy to track where the, lead source came from. Sometimes it's harder, depending on how much hygiene you do and how well you keep it updated and clean and everything like that. But for your best estimate, or your accurate estimate, if you have the data, where do you think most of your buyer clients come from? Is it referrals? Is it online / social media? Is it while you're sweaty in the sauna? Is it organic growth from your website? Where do you think, like, if you were to break down into a pie chart, where your buyer clients are coming from?
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of doing that right now for 2024, and I think it was 65% was referral.
Wow.
So the majority of our business is from past client referrals or from sphere of influence, friends and family in the community that know, like, and trust us already.
And then within that, what portion are just your kind of typical retail? They're looking for their home that they're going to live in, or their vacation home. And then what about investors?
Yeah, so we did 13 deals last year that were 1031 exchange deals. So out of 40 or 44. So what's that about? 15% of our deals, whatever that is investor business, I would say. And then 85 more or less is retail, like looking for their first condo. They're looking for their family home in Del Mar, right? It's I'd say probably 15% investment, 85% live in single family.
Awesome. And I want to pull or draw back on one of the other points you made, which I think is a really cool aspect of your business. I see you guys taking on huge listings, multiple millions. And then I see you taking on, just like you said, like the $300,000 or $400,000 condo, with, creating a brand and balancing, just getting the listing and knowing that you're going to devote a tremendous amount of time, energy, and effort, whether it's the $300,000 or the $3 million listing. Do you feel like that is something that's attractive to your clients, knowing that you'll do the work and you'll put your best foot forward? Or do you feel like it detracts at all from the luxury client of, like, why is Trent listing this $300,000 condo? My house is a $10 million home.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And that's one of the good things I think about my dad and I's brand being different, because I don't market the $300,000 condos on his stuff. I try and keep all of his brand, his listings, everything that shows on his website, everything like that, very high tier, luxury specific focus. Those are like the deals that he's going after and we were going after. But for me, I really like helping clients anywhere in San Diego. And obviously being, I've been in the business a decent amount now and we got some good traction, but that $300,000 deal was a friend of mine that, he's referred me a ton of deals. Um, it, was I dying to do it? No. But the fact that I did such a good job with it has led to me getting 3 or 4 more referrals since. So to me personally, I don't mind doing deals at any price point, and like I want people to know that. Because I don't want you to be afraid to call me like, hey, oh, they only do big deals. Like it feels like unapproachable to me a little bit personally, just for where I'm at in my career. But yeah, it's a great question, because when you are hunting those higher tier deals, like they might get turned off a little bit by that. And I don't market that on because I run both of our websites, social medias, everything. I keep his very, very high level, high tier, luxury specific. And then I have a good mix, I think, of high tier luxury, but also approachable entry level homes, because first time home buyers is a big part of my business.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I want to talk a bit about the price points you're in and where you're going, but just I have to ask, where was there a $300,000 condo?
In Oak Park. Yeah. So if you look up Oak Park, it's deep East County. Dan, probably not somewhere you're hanging out on Friday night, but
Yeah. Okay.
it's it's a questionable area. But a nice 2 bed, 1.5 bath, 2 bed, 1 bath, sorry. Um, Cleanly renovated. I mean, had nice luxury flooring, um, vinyl plank flooring, painted, new appliances. It was clean and good.
Yeah. Sorry,
Good
I
folks
didn't
over
mean to
there.
interrupt you.
But
Yeah.
no, Oak Park is
Um,
the community.
okay. Yeah, because just I think listeners need a point of reference here. I'm going to have some questions around numbers. So, I mean, a 800,000 dollar condo here is entry level, and an entry level home is 2-ish million. Is that correct, Trent?
Um, Depends where you want to be. I tell people, like, if you're looking for value in San Diego and you're under 2 million bucks, the pockets that I'm selling the most amount of homes in right now for like that entry level single family first time home buyer is East Encinitas, Olivenhain area, Village Park, Carlsbad, and Oceanside. Those three markets, you can get stuff under 2 million bucks, clean, 3 to 4 bedrooms, and it's very entry level. Why people want to be in Encinitas and Carlsbad are because of the school districts. The problem with Oceanside, I think there's a little bit more value there, and you can get a single family home for 1.3 million there. But the school districts aren't as good. And then the other market that I do a lot in, that I see a lot of first time home buyers around 1.3 million, is Claremont. And that's the exact same knock on Claremont, is a lot of young families will move there before they have kids, build up some equity, build some wealth, sell that, use the equity to then go buy in North County if their kids are going to public school.
Sure. Okay. So on that note, and since listeners now have a point of reference,
Mhm.
you're consistently in the 2 to 6 million range, or are you a little higher than that potentially?
Yeah, that's our bread and butter market, I would say, between 2 and 6 million. We're not the team getting the call for the $25 million oceanfront one. That's what we're working toward. But yeah, we if you look at our price points and our deal volume, it's been between 2 and 5 million typically.
And that's what I was getting at, what I wanted to ask. What do you think it's going to take to get into that 10, 20 million, the selling sunset sort of
Yeah.
property range? What are you doing to move into that space?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We talk about it a lot. It's a totally different business model. We've been on some of the listing appointments at the big ones coming to market that are 15, 20 million bucks, and it really takes a different level of commitment on the marketing spend, in all honesty. These the top tier guys, you're on the cover of Dream Homes every month for 5 grand, whatever it is. Your staging budgets are much, much higher. They're paying for staging that's 30, 40 plus $1,000. The marketing spend is just a lot higher. And I think that's what those price points and those people want to see. And so that's what we are willing to do it for sure. It just we haven't found the right one yet. And I think you kind of need to get on that roll a little bit, where you get one or two and people see you knocked it out of the park, and you kind of build build that brand, build that resume on those high tier, ultra luxury ones.
Hmm. So there's some tangible aspects of it, of being willing to, spend a tremendous amount of money on marketing and staging and being able to show like, hey, once you get it, this is how we're going to treat it. And there's a little bit of that you can do with the lower price point, assuming, the cost justifies the income that you're generating. But
Mhm.
what about some of the intangibles of, you grew up in San Diego. I heard you're inviting me to play golf at Torrey Pines. Thank you for the invite. I'm
Of
excited about that.
course.
But being the local, being the native to the area has to add something? Or do you feel like that doesn't matter as much as people think it does? How does that contribute to the market that you're at and then the ultra luxury market?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Yeah, I think it contributes a lot. I think a lot of people, there are a lot of other really great brokers here in San Diego. It's just a competitive market in that top tier space, right? And so you're competing against some of the biggest names in San Diego, have been doing it a really long time and doing it well, right? And so I think even if, but yeah, to the intangibles of like, we know the people, we have great brand reputation, they know our families, like they know we're good people. So we are starting to get the call more and more. But again, I think it's just a different market, different marketing strategy, different marketing technique. And we've been doing very well at our price point. So we've kind of doubled down there instead of like just going all out for ultra luxury. Like we're volume based.
I gotcha. So you're obviously extremely client focused. You guys go above and beyond for a lot of the clients that you work with, whether it's at the $300,000 price point or the $6 million price point. Something that, we think a lot about in our land businesses, when it makes sense to add value to a property, whether it's through subdivision or just clearing the property or extending utilities, whatever it might be, versus not adding value add, just slapping it on the market and seeing what you can do. So what are you guys doing to potentially add value to the listings that you guys are doing, whether it's renovations or staging better or anything?
Yeah. Great question. Yeah. So this is every listing appointment we go on. This is the first question, right? Like how can I get the most money for my home? Right. And typically, I mean, we're not going to advise you to build a ground up ADU in the backyard, even if it's going to, if you're planning to sell quickly, right? Because it's not going to be too much money and too much time, energy, and effort for the return. For us, where we're really good, we have full service property management as well. So we have a lot of great subs, contractors, plumbers, roofers, electricians. If we need to knock out some bathroom remodels, even if we need to do a kitchen, right? If we do a home inspection before and we try and knock out all the ticky tacky handyman items that a buyer is going to retrade on, right? So we were talking about this a little bit before the show, but one of our avenues that we're now pitching is really not a GC company, but renovation help, I guess you could say, because we manage the project ourselves. We bring all of our own people in. You're more than welcome to get more bids, but we will guide you through that process. We'll show you comps on if you do items A, B, and C, you could be here. Or, if we go on at it as is sale and you don't want to spend, because sometimes it can be pricey, right? If you don't want to spend that 50,000 to do flooring, paint, and a bathroom, then we can go on at X as opposed to Y. But usually, we try and have our clients, they're usually getting between $2 and $3 back for every one they spend.
Okay. I want to spend more time on this because,
Yeah.
I've decided to kind of go the brokerage route as well, and get my real estate license. I just finished the, 160 hours or whatever of education yesterday, about to take my test, and, you know, excited.
Yeah.
I've wanted to be a realtor for a while, and I love being the investor, and I'm still going to be an investor, but, and I know it's different for every state, but with you guys coming to a listing appointment and being able to say, okay, Dan, we can get you $1 million for your home as is. But if we do these renovations, which will cost $100,000, we'll be able to get you 1.4 most likely. And we can manage the whole process. We have the business that does it. Are there any issues that you foresee or any legal issues associated with doing that of, commingling, or is it just disclosures that you have to do? saying, hey,
Well,
we do own this company, that kind of thing, and we're not doing this in exchange for the listing or anything like that. How does that kind of work from the compliance side of things?
yeah, it's a great question. And to be clear, we don't have like a separate entity formed. This has been a value add proposition for as part of our fee on the sale side. And so we don't commingle funds. We have before, but we don't typically pay our guys. We connect them directly with the seller, and we're there helping manage, helping them. A lot of times the seller doesn't know how to communicate specifically what they want done, right? So making sure that our guys know what the plan is, know what they're doing, know what the budget is, know which days to be there. And we're making sure that they're there too, right? Because contractors, they disappear sometimes. And so you want to just make sure that they're on budget in the area, you're showing face every day and making sure that they're doing it the right way. So we don't have a separate entity formed yet. I don't know if we will or we won't. But back to it being such a competitive broker market here in San Diego, we don't want to be just a one trick pony where it's like, okay, look, we're going to take photos. We're going to put a sign out front, a lockbox on the door, and let's hope your home sells, right? It's like, no. Let's do the things that are going to put it in the highest and best use condition. Let's make it look as good as humanly possible so that if you're doing an exchange, you have the most money to go buy a better property. Or if you're, retiring, then you have the most money in your retirement savings account. How do we get it into that highest and best use condition? But we have the owners pay the contractors directly. We try not to get involved in the middle of it. We just are the guidance counselors, I guess you could say. And this all is part of the selling fee, right? So we try to add more value to where our fee isn't questioned really in a sense. It's like, wow, these guys are really earning their money.
That makes sense because I feel like, thinking about it of, in land, for instance, where it's like, hey, you can subdivide your land and you're going to make 2x more than if you just sell it as is. And, an important thing is you probably legally can't be like, and I'll pay for it. And I'll pay for the subdivision and take the listing and everything like that. So, no, I think that's really serving your client's best interest and being able to justify the herding of cats that it takes with subs and contractors and everything like that to be able to say, okay, well, this extra time that we're spending, it takes the commission from, a 3% commission on $1 million deal to a $1.8 million deal. And then the seller's making more money. Everyone's getting what they want. So awesome. Yeah. Thanks for expanding on that. And Dan.
Yeah, of course.
Trent, I had to pull out kind of a lesson from something you said earlier. You said that to get those $10-20 million listings, you're looking at a substantially higher marketing spend monthly, and the cost as far as just staging those homes and then just marketing the homes individually goes well into tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is just something that I think is applicable across the board in any business. And I think Mason and I are running into this right now, where getting into these larger land deals, these subdivides, the new construction, just the amount of capital that you have to be able to deploy, and not just deploy, but have it sitting deployed for much longer time periods, just goes up and up and up. It's like with my small residential rentals, if I need a certain amount of money to manage these and deal with turnover and vacancy and rehab, well, if I want to go buy a 50-unit apartment, that number goes up dramatically. And yeah, you can make more every month, but the times where you have vacancy and things go wrong, those numbers get much bigger, and you just have to have more capital and holding power. And I think that's just a reality of moving up in business.
Totally. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I know. I think it's a totally different game, just like probably what you guys are doing now versus what you might want to do, and vice versa with us. Like, why we like the price points that we're at is they sell. It's like that is sadly, in San Diego, 2-3 million bucks is still pretty entry level. And so you could have 5-10 offers on a nice $2-3 million listing, and they're turning quickly. It's where, just like you're saying, that ultra luxury, they could be on the market for 6, 12, 18 months.
Yep. So whatever, other realtors that are listening to this in different markets, different price points, whatever luxury means given your market, what would you say, or what advice would you have to a realtor that's been stuck maybe in the very entry level? they haven't gotten any even, moderately higher end homes. What's the difference between that entry level clientele you deal with and then those people at the high end of your price range, the 6, 7 million, $8 million homes? What's the difference in those clients, and how do you manage them and attract them?
Totally. Well, I'll start with managing and attracting them. Like, I think when I notice when I'm getting bigger deals, it's definitely when I'm putting myself in the positions to where those people are, right? And that's why I'm at the most expensive gym in San Diego, right? Because there's very high tier, high quality people there, that I surround myself and network with daily. So one, putting yourself in a position where they are, and two, if I was stuck at a lower price point and wanting to do bigger deals, I would make sure to either be on a team that had higher tier and higher priced listings so that you can meet higher priced buyers and you're through open houses, because you got to be on that team or a part of that brand that is already doing it, right? Because you're gonna, if when you do land that client that's like a bigger buyer, bigger seller, until you're the guy, you're gonna need the guy to come close it for it, to come help you, right? And so to me, I think either associating yourself with that team or with that brand that's already where you want to be, and then going and doing the things that you like to do and you're good at, that wealthier people are at as well. Like, you can't be going out to the bars in PB on a Saturday, right? It's like you need to be at an open house and a high quality listing. And then if you are going to play golf or something, join a country club or do something where higher price point clientele will be.
Yep. Yep. No, it's sometimes we overcomplicate this stuff because it's, again, going back to our or any business, whether it's moving up into these bigger building projects, bigger subdivides, or if you're in residential rentals, moving up into apartments, it's where are those people that you can either go work for, work with, or just hang out with. And I think that's really the easiest way to move up, is just surrounding yourself with people who are already doing it.
Totally. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's really, it's the connection base, right? It's like, how can you connect with more high quality, not high quality people, personality wise, but higher quality financially.
So, with your business, how much of your time is spent with buyer clients and how much with listing clients?
So my
Or,
first few years,
yeah.
yeah, first few years is definitely, 95-5, then 90-10, then 80-20. And now I'm really getting closer to 50-50. I think our last year of the 44 deals approximately that it was 21 listings and 23 buyers. So we're pretty darn close. I'm definitely more focused on the list side, but have a great roster of buyers, of people looking for good product all over San Diego, but it's just a tougher, there's not much for sale.
Yeah.
The inventory concerns are real.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with your background in lending, you talked about it a little bit. How do you feel like that has benefited you in having conversations with buyers or sellers, just having that financial knowledge? And then how do you, if at all, code switch a little bit where you don't become overwhelmingly financial whenever it's, hey, I don't care about the money. I only care that the backsplash matches the countertop, or, the emotional decision making associated with purchasing your dream home.
Totally. Yeah. So I was on a listing appointment this weekend and leveraged my lending background, because I think, from the buyer perspective, I'm really good at helping buyers like understand, okay, hey, look, you're self-employed. You're not getting a loan like a W-2 guy from Wells Fargo, right? That is just off the bat. I think that's the first thing people think of, but I like to leverage it, especially on listing presentations and stuff, as when you're on the listing side, your biggest job is to find the buyer that's going to close, right? And so being able to vet that buyer coming in, make sure they're cross qualified properly, making sure that that buyer's lending is in check and they've done their due diligence and everything's ready to roll, because that's a big part. When you have 5 offers on a property, you got to make sure, I mean, it's a big decision, because if that property falls out of escrow, I mean, as you guys know better than anyone else, it gets that tint on it. And so I really take pride in trying to keep all, no matter what, keep our deals together and sometimes, stuff happens that's out of your control, but you want to do your due diligence as hard as possible up front, especially financing is at 99% of the time what kills it. And so if those people are vetted, they know what's going on, and my sellers know, like, look, our listing agent, he knows what's going on both sides of this deal. And so if he can ask the right questions to the lender and to the buyer and the buyer's agent, we can be sure that we're choosing the right offer.
Yeah. And I think that, the due diligence component is so important kind of on both sides. And what it amounts to a lot of times is qualifying the lead. On
Totally.
the listing appointment side of it, you are in such a competitive market with tons of great and awesome brokers throughout the county. How do you make sure that you're differentiating yourself in kind of that pre-listing appointment and doing all the necessary due diligence and putting your best forward, but also not, doing too much to the point where they've sold their home with, ABC Realty Group, the last 10 homes they've done, like they're not going to work with someone else, but, maybe you got a referral or something like that. How do you uh, kind of balance, making sure that you're most effectively using your time and qualifying leads appropriately on the listing side?
So like when we've already got the listing or in order to win the
Like the
listing?
pre-listing appointment, I should say.
Pre-listing appointment? Yeah. So before we go on a listing appointment, we have a really nice like PDF and electronic format of a listing presentation that we send over, as well as links to like website, all of our online past reviews, just so they can like dig in, do some due diligence on it. I mean, I literally say just Google our names because I know that I have a super good brand presence. I mean, my Google business, our website, our SEO, like how we rank, and I know my social media is up to date. And so I think we're very easy to find. And I like that to be known because then they can see our quality of marketing, the types of videos, photos that we produce, how we spend. I mean, the amount of time we spend doing open houses and showings and getting your property process into the highest and best condition prior to listing. So we put on together a whole pre-marketing packet that they get before we even get there. So they're pretty versed on us already. And then up digging deep into, pulling property characteristics, property profiles, making sure there's no liens, no easements on the property. Or if there are easements, like what they are and what any foreseen issues might be. Just trying to really think full picture on what roadblocks we could come across this deal, and in the listing presentation present, hey, these are some things we might want to address before that somebody might not have thought about.
Makes sense. So I did pull you up here, and your reviews are impeccable across every platform: Zillow, Google, Yelp, everything. So I think you're qualified to answer the following. In the last couple of years, a lot of people have gone out of business in the land space, apartments, you name it within real estate. The herd has been culled, so to speak, especially with realtors. And it seems like you've been thriving, knowing you personally, talking to you, you're slowly taking more and more market share. What are the biggest things that differentiate the realtors or business people in real estate in general that have continued to succeed through this slower time, high interest rates, lower transaction volume versus all those that gave up and got a job?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, for me personally, it's really just been doubling down, right? We're spending more money now on marketing. I'm doing longer open house hours. I'm trying to talk to more and more people. Um, I don't know. I feel like you kind of have to have a different mindset in a market like this a little bit, where in a weird way, it kind of motivates you, right? Because you're like, I know that if everybody or a lot of people are falling off the block, there's a market share that needs to be filled, right? And so will realtors jobs change and commissions change? I think definitely. I think everybody's going to have to be very adaptable. There's so much information about out there. I think a lot of people want to start to figure out, like, okay, how can we put in more work on the buy side or the sell side and to charge less commissions and whatever. I don't know how it's all going to shake out, but all I know is that I have a very good eye on the listing and the buy side, and I know the process extremely well. And if I double down on all my efforts, that I'm able to, pick up one or two extra clients a year, um, hopefully at least. And so, like, to me, it's a little bit of a motivating factor. And as the market slims, I think if people can just push through and stay the course, I know it's probably not always very easy, but if you just double down, there's deals out there. I mean, people are buying and selling every day. And so, I think if you just keep grinding and keep your head down and don't listen to like all the noise out there, it's like just stay in your lane, go find a deal, help people buy and sell real estate, and don't be too good for any deal is how I'm looking at it. And that goes back to that $300,000 deal. I mean, I just put someone in a $1,500 a month rental. And so just trying to not feel like I'm ever above anything, just grinding and making it happen for people.
Yeah, I think you do a very good job of being down to earth, at least in all my interaction with you. And I also, to your whole point about it changing the whole dynamic with realtors, kind of commissions, there was the NAR settlement, things getting more efficient essentially over time. I think it's smart what you guys have done preemptively with the three-pronged approach, having the help with the renovations, property management, and then you'll sell their house. So there's way more of a value proposition there that I think will just help you gain more and more market share because not a lot of realtors are doing it. And I think that is a big part of why so many people went out of business is because people that got started in 2020, 2021, in the beginning of 2022, you just threw it up in the MLS and it would sell, right? I mean, you didn't have to do anything, and that's just not real life, not for long at least. And so I think what you're doing will really help you just dominate here in the long term.
Yeah, I hope so. That's definitely the goal because I think, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to provide more value to earn these high tier deals. Um, I think in the access to information, right? It's like a lot of buyers can know what's out there probably before their broker does, right? So figuring out how to still provide those people, you know, unparalleled value to where they're like, no, even I still want to work with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, along this whole conversation, something I'm curious, why have you guys focused so heavily just on Del Mar? Because, I think about you got, what's it called? La Jolla just south and a lot of other very expensive coastal markets. Is there a reason you haven't branded yourself as, all of coastal San Diego? Or is that the plan in the long run? Or why have you so niched down?
So, in my opinion, in San Diego, I mean, there are a few top guys in each market that really dominate. And so, like, when I look at like like when I go on a high end, when we go on a high end listing appointment in Del Mar, our resume is second to none. In terms of like the deals we've done there, our reputation, the people selling there want to see what you've done and how and when. And we have a lot of recent deals. We've sold them for some of the highest price per foots in Del Mar as of late. And we have a great resume. Now, if we go into La Jolla and Encinitas and these different markets, like we've done a ton of deals there too. But when we're going against, say, our like caliber of agent in that specific market, it's really hard to win a deal because if we did, 25 deals last year in Del Mar, and we did two in La Jolla, when we go on that listing appointment in La Jolla, it's not the same. And so when you're trying to win these big deals, you have to almost be like ultra focused on your niche.
Yeah, and being able to absorb, a lot of the market share in one market is oftentimes worth a lot more than just a little bit, spread out. Trent, I want to talk a little bit, as we move towards the top of the hour, talk a little bit about the systems and software that you're using actively in your business. You mentioned that key from or through Follow Up Boss, which I assume Follow Up Boss is your CRM, but what's your software stack look like? What technology are you using in your business every day that makes you and the team so successful?
Yeah. So Follow Up Boss is our CRM. Super easy, integrates with everything. You can plug in with Zillow, Realtor.com, Constant or MailChimp. And so that's kind of our high level CRM. And then we're using Constant Contact for our mailers or for our email blasts and database blasts right now of our listings, our stuff coming soon, market updates. And then our social media, obviously Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, pretty much everywhere you can be found. I'm trying to consistently post on. Um, and then other than that, I mean, really, like, I try to operate just strictly out of our CRM and try and keep that super dialed in. Key is a separate company that has all the email templates, and they help you set your CRM to be set up in stages so that you can brand your clients properly and then put them into like the funnel, the steps, right? So it's like active client, now they're pending, now they're sold, making sure they're on the right email campaigns. But other than that, and I also use RedX in order to get data. And when I'm cold calling, when I'm circle prospecting or for sale by owners or expireds. So RedX is my dialer. And other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it for now.
Awesome. And what's the team look like? Obviously, there's you and your dad, but assistants, transaction coordinators, associate brokers. Who all is on the team? What's the
Yeah, it's literally until last week, my middle brother got his license and he's helping us, like, because we really needed like a boots on the ground guy, especially with the property management, to be meeting people and helping open doors and stuff like that. So until last week, it was just my dad and I and a transaction coordinator, who's great, and she does a la carte services too, where she'll help us put in listings, she'll help us with our CRM, data entry. She does a lot of other stuff, which is really, really nice. And she'll even help with purchase agreements and lease contracts and stuff like that. So we have a la carte services with the TC, and then we have two, I guess you could say, buyers agents on our team that um they're not specifically on our team, I would say. Like, we don't get together and all that stuff, but they work under us and need help when they get a deal that they work with us.
awesome? So it doesn't take a gigantic, overly, fat team to be able to become one of the top brokerages in town. It takes, client focus and great diligence and everything that you guys do, which I feel like, the three-prong approach and just everything you do for all of your clients on both sides really exemplifies that. But Trent, we've talked about a lot. If you were to summarize how to become a truly effective agent and a leader within whatever market you're operating in, what advice would you give to someone?
Yeah, the advice that I was given that's rang true for me, I think about it literally every time I'm working on a deal and I'm frustrated or I'm, upset, whatever. As long as you keep your client's best interests in mind at all times, no matter what, no matter what is going on in a deal, right? If they're wrong, if there's something happening, if as long as their best interest is in mind and you never are even thinking about fee or never thinking about anything other than protecting your client and getting them in the best deal and making sure that they're as safe as possible throughout the transaction, you can never lose. Because, sometimes I think people get in these like scenarios where some of these escrows are super long and challenging, and they get to the finish line and they fall apart, and it's, you're bummed. But to keep that in the back of your mind where it's like, look, okay, well, this wasn't the right fit for my client, even if maybe it did check all the boxes and you thought it was the right fit for them. But if they don't feel that it was the right fit for them, like, you can't even think twice about it. Just let it go, move on to the next one, keep smiling, keep helping them, stay on it, and you will continue to earn their business in the future. But it's hard, right? Especially when, you might only have one deal, one escrow going, and that escrow gets to the finish line and falls apart. And so, like, that's the hard part of this business, I think, is, you got to really, like, if you keep that mindset at all times, it's going to work out for you just fine. And hopefully, you have a couple escrows and you're not stressing on it. But I think that's a challenging part of the business that you can easily just get over, though, by keeping that mindset.
Yeah, no, I think that's wise. So, Trent, as we head to the end of the show, we always like to ask, are there any questions we didn't ask you that we should have?
Mm, no, not really. I mean, I've really enjoyed. I love talking real estate. I'm appreciative of my friendship with you guys. And what questions about me? Just that I actually love what I do. It's it's super fun. I love being the opportunity to be able to hang with my dad and now my brother a good amount, and we're in the trenches together, I would say, which is fun. We're building a business together, which is fun. I truly enjoy that, and that's kind of why I'm trying to dial in our CRM. I've hired a coach to help us really get our systems in check, like a true listing process, right? Where like I can take the listing paper and I could give it to anybody and they could replicate that process, right? Lead comes in. How does the pre-listing marketing look? How does the, group set up the group text with all the parties involved so that we know where everyone's on the same page? And yeah, so I just want people to know that I enjoy it. Um, even though we do this to make money and live, obviously, fee has never been what we've been about and preached. And, I'm very accommodating. I want to make sure that people feel that like the value that they're getting for working with me coincides with the amount that they're paying. And so we try and provide a lot of value to where people are excited to work with us. But, you know, I'm open. I want to just do deals and help people succeed in real estate here in San Diego, because I know it's a friggin' hard market. To get your foot in the door is tough. And so I enjoy helping my buddies build wealth. It's fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so connect with me on any social media platform. I'm trying to be better on LinkedIn. But my name, Trent Cady. My Instagram's Trent Sells SD. Our website is MikeCadyHomes.com. My phone number is 619-993-1816. But all my info will be on any of my social media pages, website, Google Business. So just Trent Cady and connect with me on whatever.
You heard it here, guys. If you're looking for the best realtor in Del Mar, Trent Cady is your man. But until next time, Dan Haberkost and Mason McDonald and Trent Cady with the Big Picture Blueprint signing off.